If you don't know which reverb pedal you should buy, this is the perfect video for you. I'm gonna give you 12 tips and things to look out for when buying a reverb pedal. This is the ultimate reverb pedal buying guide. Number 1, which reverb type do you like the most? Do you like a plate style reverb? Like a super open, airy, and bright sounding reverb, or do you prefer a hall reverb that is darker and more intimate? Or maybe you like a spring reverb that's just gonna be jumpy and super piercing, like... You gotta know your reverb types because it's gonna narrow it down to a few pedals that are the best at doing those reverb types. Do you prefer plate, room, hall? It's your choice. Number 2, do you want more than the typical reverb types like room and hall? Do you want to experiment with your reverbs and use it as a songwriting tool? Have access to sounds like a double octave shimmer like this? Or maybe like an auto swell kind of reverb. Or a straight up reverse reverb like this. Do you want to experiment and use it as a songwriting tool? If so, you might like to have a multi-effect reverb a lot better, where you have a dozen types of reverbs to choose from and twist and experiment with them. And if you want a reverb just as a little always on, little ambience that is subtle just there, you might want to get just a single unit, like a single spring reverb pedal or something, because your needs are simple, so you need a simple pedal. Number 3, are you changing your reverb tones really often? Are you playing live and you need many different tones of reverbs? If so, you would be better with lots of presets. So do you need presets or not? Like I said, if you leave it always on, you don't really need presets. But if you experiment a lot with reverse reverbs and a hall and a plate, you might want to have access to lots of banks like I have on my Strymon Big Sky, where I can store more than 300 presets. So keep that in mind. Do you need presets? Number 4, do you want a freeze function? Many reverb pedals nowadays, when you hold the foot switch, it can freeze the reverb and then you can create soundscape with that. For example, if I play something like... and I hold it, it's infinite. So it's super fun to use. So do you want to have that freeze function right here? Not all pedals give you access to that. Number 5, is it important to you to get access to 100% wet reverbs, where it completely removes the dry signal of your guitar and you end up with something that sounds like this? So if I remove it, what I'm playing is... and when I put it, I don't hear my guitar anymore. It's just a decay of the reverb. And unfortunately, not all pedals allow a full wet sound. Sometimes you take the mix knob and you put it at 100% up, but it's gonna sound like this. You still hear your dry signal this way, right? So you gotta make sure that the pedal can go 100% up like this, and that you don't hear your dry signal. So how do you know? I actually have a full lesson on it, on how to know if a reverb allows full 100% wet sound, so you can click on it if you're interested in that topic. Number 6, do you want a mono or stereo pedal? If you have stereo delays before your reverbs in your pedal board chain, it's a good idea to get a reverb with stereo ins and outs so that you don't break your stereo chain, right? Of course, if you're playing just with one amp, you don't need a stereo reverb unless you know that you're gonna get a second amp in the future, but it's a great idea. So it's also to have a wide spread when you play in stereo, like the modulation is gonna swirl between both ears inside of your reverbs, right? So you gotta have headphones to hear it clearly right now. So this is an example of using a stereo reverb. Cool, and this is an example of using it in mono. So you see, you don't get the wide stereo spread that you get with a stereo reverb. So keep that in mind. And for the future, are you interested to play in stereo in the future? If so, you might want to get a pedal that already has stereo ins and outs. Number 7, do you have access to modulation controls? What I don't like sometimes with some stomp boxes of reverbs is that you have a modulation mode, and it's your only way to get modulation. All the other modes don't have modulation on them. So when you play with them, it sounds like this. And to me, it sounds sterile because you don't have modulation in it, and the only way you can get modulation is through the modulation mode of the pedal. But many times it's not like the sweet spot of modulation that you want. Many times it ends up sounding like this, like if you put the modulation here, and now you're like, okay, yeah, I have modulation. And now maybe it's too deep, or it's moving too fast, like and you don't like it, so there's no way to get the modulation you want from that pedal. So the best way is to have a modulation knob that is gradual, where you can put exactly the amount of modulation you want on any type of reverb on your pedal. That's what I have access to here. So if that was too much, I'm gonna back down on it, and maybe here that's gonna be the perfect amount of modulation. It's perfect for me because the modulation is widely spread, but it's not too fast, it's not too overwhelming. So look out for a pedal that has more than just a modulation mode, but that has a modulation knob that is gradual and not a fixed switch or button to add modulation. Number 8, does the pedal have EQ controls, especially for shimmer types of reverbs? Because shimmer is a reverb where you add an octave up that follows your sound on top, but most of the times it sounds super bright and piercing, and I hate this sound. It sounds like this. Like, it's super, super bright, and you cannot get rid of that piercing sound. So you might want to get a pedal that has a tone knob, or at least some like highs and lows damping, so that you can tame that super bright sound on your shimmer. So in my case here, I have a tone knob, and I can use it to put it really, really dark so that now I have a more subtle, darker shimmer tone. You still hear that octave on top, but it's not as annoying right now. And you can always just add less of that shimmer in the sound. But EQ controls are really important sometimes on reverb pedals. So does it have an EQ control? Number 9, what is the maximum decay time available on the pedal? If you want to create big soundscapes and big atmospheres, many reverb pedals are not going long enough. They're going to give you like 2 or 3 seconds maximum of decay, and it dies down pretty quickly if you want it to sustain in the background, a little bit like what we did with the freeze function, right? So for example, now let's say that my maximum time is 2.5 seconds. It's going to sound like this. It's like I don't even hear my big chord that I played at the beginning, right? It's not long enough. So you got to look at how many seconds do I have. On here I have up to 50 plus seconds of decay. So now that's going to resonate in the background for a very long time, and I can create my big soundscapes like these. Super cool, and it's gonna last forever, right? So if you want that in a pedal, make sure to look out for the longest decay time. So now I need to tame it a little bit. Number 10, do you need a true bypass or a buffered bypass pedal? So if you have lots of pedals on your board or lots of true bypass pedals, it might be a good idea to have a buffer towards the end to keep the integrity of your signal. And many reverb pedals actually allow you to choose between true bypass or buffered bypass mode. And it's not the only reason. It's also if you want the reverb to still decay, even if you disengage the pedal, you need a buffered bypass mode. So for example, if I am in true bypass mode, and if I play, and I disengage, it just kills the reverb. No more decay, right? But if I am in buffered bypass mode, it's actually going to continue even if I disengage the pedal. Right? So it sounds more natural, and some pedals can actually allow both. So it's your choice to know, do I want true bypass or buffered bypass? Number 11, the size and the price. Of course, it's gonna cost a lot more if you want all functions, like if you want hundreds of presets and like all types of reverb imaginable, and you want access to the freeze function and 100% wet, and you want modulation and EQ controls and lots of flexibility, you will look into paying between $300 or even $400 for your reverb pedal. So that's a big investment, especially with the taxes and shipping. But you still have other pedals, like for example, the Electro Harmonix Oceans 11, which are small, they are more affordable, they have many reverb types, you even have a tone knob on it, but they have their limits. You don't have access to everything we've mentioned in this video, right? It's not in stereo, you don't have presets, you only have a modulation mode. Like I said, I don't like it because I don't have a modulation knob on all other types of reverbs. So if you want it out, you have to invest more. You have to ask yourself also, what is the space available on my pedal board? Do I need a small pedal always on that's not going to take too much space and too much real estate on my board? Or can I afford like a big stomp box that's going to take a lot of space on it? So it's yours to decide. And number 12, I'm going to give the same advice that in my delay buying guide. It's just Pick one pedal and make music. It shouldn't take 3 weeks of research to find the perfect reverb pedal. Just go watch a few demos, go download a few instruction manuals, and just decide on a pedal, because at the end of the day, a reverb pedal is going to add ambience to your sound, right? It's going to add a little something resonating in the background. If you have lots of functions, lots of decay, different modes, at the end of the day, it's going to do exactly the same thing, and you can always buy a different pedal if in the future you experience limitations or you want a different kind of sound. You are not attached to a certain pedal. You can always buy a new one or sell it or swap it in the future. So I hope it was a helpful video. If you want to learn how to use your reverb pedal to make ambient guitar tones, I really encourage you to watch my free mini course. It's the first link in the description box. In that course, I'm showing you how to create ambient guitar drones, how to set up your reverb pedal to have a good clean tone. I'm showing you how to build your own ambient guitar songs by looping your reverb tones together and layering them. And I also have a few recommendations of reverb pedals according to your budget, whether you have a low, medium, or high budget. So all of that is in the course. It's for free. Once again, first link in the description box. It's my free gift for watching my video until the end. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you soon. Until next time, au revoir.